Warning, the following video has flashing lights and also includes content that may be deemed inappropriate for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Mai-Coh, yes, a member of the Midnight Society science team, has once again decided she must awaken LordeStarfox from his long-deserved slumber, as Mai-Coh does need our assistance in tracking down strange canine-like creatures. Yet first, please, I really do need to feast. Absolutely delicious. I do appreciate and adore you, Mai-Coh, for releasing me from my shackles and allowing me to absolutely indulge myself. Now, without further ado, it is time for Midnight Lycanthropy to take a walk into the madness. My creatures of the night. Once again, it is Midnight Lycanthropy time. Yes, I do have one of my residential scientists with a good old Midnight Society. I, of course, am referring to Mai-Coh. She is already waiting for us. Tonight, we are going to be diving into some pretty interesting things. Yes, Portlock / Port Chatham, Alaska. Everybody wants to automatically associate this with Bigfoot, Sasquatch, the hairy man, etc. Interesting stuff, yet the more I've spent time looking into this case, once we do let our residential scientist fill up the good old file cabinet with some great information, I am going to, well, stir the pot as well. Mai-Coh, my friend, are you ready to take center stage and try and figure out what the heck is going on in Portlock / Port Chatham?
Heck yeah, I'm ready. Let's go.
Sweet. The mic is yours, my friend. Let's dance.
So Portlock was a settlement in Alaska, like southern Alaska, and it is now abandoned. It's a ghost town. There was a series of terrible, strange disappearances. People kept just vanishing, straight up going missing. It's like in the first half of like the 1900s, right? And like they they were just vanishing without a trace. And then, but like the bodies started turning up, and the bodies were like horribly mutilated. Like very, very terrible. Something with teeth or claws, probably. People like were showing up, hunters were showing up. It was not pretty. It was terrifying, in fact. And eventually, the whole town was straight up abandoned. And to this day, it remains completely vacant. The residents who left said that there was a creature. There was something in the woods. There was something bipedal. There was something shadowy. There was some being that was out there. It was doing something to people, but nobody had a really clear description of this creature other than they were seeing these things around in the forest, and then all of these bodies were just turning up. So that's the basic rundown of it. There was a name for the creature.
The Nantinaq, which is what the actual indigenous culture spoke
Yes,
of in this
that's it.
area. Yet, like I had mentioned to Mai-Coh earlier,
Mhm.
their mentioning of the Nantinaq is way prior to this Port Chatham / Portlock area trying to get set up right there.
I just looked up the pronunciation because it's a word and a not familiar with that language. Nunatsiak is how it's telling me to pronounce it. I don't know. This critter was yes, that was the name for it, and that's basically people are like, oh, it's like a Bigfoot, it's like a supernatural Bigfoot. But that's with the story of Portlock. That's really like that's not what anybody says. They use this word, they associate it with that, the Nantinaq or whatever it is. It's just, it was this thing and it's mysterious. Um, and whatever the deal is, something with people violently, and that was terrifying. Um, there were some economic issues facing the town as well. I kind of did a little bit of a dive into it. There was a highway that was basically bringing traffic more to the other side of this peninsula, um and also but like also this city, the Portlock, or not city, it was like a village. It's part of something that people call the Alaska Triangle, which is like a triangle of like area in Alaska that has a lot of like strange paranormal type activity. Like we're talking, strange creatures, mysterious disappearances, sightings of odd things. Lights in the sky besides the aurora borealis, potentially like ghost like stuff, like all sorts of weird stuff. High strangeness is going on in this sort of triangle, and Portlock is like one of the corners of that triangle. Like it's part of why that triangle is a thing. So that I thought that was also rather interesting.
Yeah, it's beautiful stuff right there for sure. I do know recently, keep in mind this is a TV show. All right.
Mm,
Yes, you can see them trying to reclaim this area. But
saw
let's
that.
pump the brakes for a second, though. I have 3 people that are friends of mine have been on These Woods Are Haunted, Monsters and Mysteries in America, also Monster Quest. They have all told me their versions of what occurred, and then I've seen the versions that were presented on TV. I understand
Ooh.
that it is for entertainment. The reason I say that about this TV show is they are trying to reclaim Portlock. Well, all right. The other day, it looked pretty windy in general. Okay. They are in Alaska, yet for some reason, the group of them thought something was in the forest shaking the trees more than some of the other trees. I've watched that scene over and over again. There's more trees that are moving within the wind. Could it have actually been something there? Yes. There's a lot of things that could have been occurring with that. So I don't really fully know the truth aspect of this TV show as to what's occurring up there.
Right.
And we have a lot of mixed up information. Okay. Could this
Right.
have
A
been
lot of
some
this.
deranged people that caused these other hunters and some of these people that would venture out into the forest to disappear? Yes. But here's where some of the interesting things come into play. You had a large piece of machinery supposedly moved, more or less boink somebody in the head. If you're something strong enough to boink somebody with a huge piece of machinery, it wasn't too pleasant for the individual that got boinked. Okay. They found him and they were like, what the heck was this? And saw the machine move. And now you have people that were claimed to be pretty successful outdoorsmen heading off into the mountains, seeing shadowy human like figures in the trees. But again, shadowy human like figures, that is probably the most vague description of anything that I've ever heard. Yet now you have people that were ripped apart more or less in extremely vicious ways that were thrown into the stream, more or less, that would accumulate in the bay. Okay. Could that have been a person? Yes, but you would have had to have been into some disturbing things and had a piece of equipment to yank something off, because I don't care how strong you are, there's no person in the world that can just rip you apart like this. Okay.
Right.
Kind of pumps the brakes on it being a person. When you see things that are shredded like that, all right, I'm not saying Dogman have to be canine. Yeah, a lot of
Right.
people like to seemingly think it is canine based. All right, we're going to run with this for a second. Anyone that's ever had a dog, what do dogs like to do? They destroy their toys. They destroy your room sometimes.
They love
They
to chew.
also, yes, just rip things apart. Look at wolves. Look at foxes. Look at coyotes. What does a fox do in a hen area? They completely, even if they only wanted one to eat, they just destroy everything,
Yeah.
rip to pieces. Potentially seem like some sort of canine-like behaviorisms. I mean, all across the country and the world, even over in the UK, you have people that find clothing tossed up into trees. Recently, I spoke to somebody from Wisconsin that found a house cat impaled that was
Oh,
still wet with some sort of saliva on it. All right.
awful.
These are interesting things that seemingly are a way to either market their territory, let you know you come here, this is going to happen to you, or if we're going to say that they are on the level of intellect that a lot of people say they are. I'm not going to dive fully into it because Vlad the Impaler is a little bit too dark for what I cover here, but look at what he did as well.
Mm,
That was a deterrent, again, showing you, hey, you come in here, this is going to happen to you. All
it's
right,
brutal.
last part.
Exactly. Yeah. Hmm.
Could it have been the indigenous culture that does not want you up there? Who knows? Sure, that could
Mm.
have come into play as well. But too many of these villagers were found ripped apart and absolutely shredded. It caused everybody to leave. It caused the whole entire town to vacate, except for one poor little guy that had to sit behind that was part of the mail service. Apparently, it took a little bit for them to decide we're going to close down this post office.
Right.
The whole area was dangerous with a town, right? Now this dude's all by himself. He said it was the most terrifying thing that ever occurred. But since then,
Wow.
pretty bizarre stuff. As far as I know, there's a
Weird.
couple structures still standing. I mean, what are you thinking about this?
Ruins, yeah. Well, here's one reason I don't think it was probably like people who live nearby, like indigenous or not. Like part of the reason I think that it really wasn't likely to be them is like the people who left Portlock, like they fled to nearby settlements, like the ones who didn't get unalived. They ended up moving to the nearby towns. Like the descendants of the people who lived in Portlock still live nearby to this day. So like it wouldn't make sense. It's like, we want these people out of here, so let's go like start scaring them out of this town because they're just gonna move. Like they just moved in with everyone around them anyway. So you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like it could have been someone really messed up or something really messed up. Um, it's the brutality of of what happened to people. It doesn't seem like normal for like, yeah, even just a predator. Like, why wasn't it consuming what it was, catching? Or, if it was like a person, exactly, like who has that kind of force to actually be able to do that? It's going to be hard. You know, in the Bigfooting world, sometimes some of this brutal stuff, they'll blame it on like a Gugway or Janasqua, like Bigfoot-like creatures, and some of it might kind of overlap into like some of the Dogman stuff, like the Baboon Man type of thing, or like the bear squatch type of thing, where it's like something with a snout that's bipedal, but like not necessarily like wolf-like. People have they anyway, people throw out all these different things, but like what typically happens, like I don't know, the things that get blamed on Bigfoot usually, or Bigfoot adjacent, they don't, like, they might involve limbs or things getting like ripped off. Unpleasant as that all sounds, or heads or whatever, and like, including with deer. Like also, we're not just talking about people, but like including like prey things. Like that's kind of maybe how they hunt. Maybe is who knows? It's cryptid, right? Like I'm not gonna be like this is the data, but it just doesn't like all of this. It doesn't fit a pattern that screams Bigfoot to me. Like it might have been something more, I don't know, something more like a dog man, like something that's really strong, something that is more known for teeth and claws and, that kind of ripping and tearing action, I guess you might say. Whatever it was pretty freaking scary, and it doesn't sound like any of the usual wildlife suspects.
Yeah, again, super gnarly stuff. Also, a lot of these people had boomsticks. There really is no
Yes,
reports of them
that's true.
even getting a chance to shoot off their boomstick.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good
I'm
point.
wondering how close is the Yukon territory to Port Chatham and Portlock, because Nahanni Valley, also, which is deep within the Yukon territory, Shakuwaran up in this area,
Mm,
it doesn't seem like it's too far away, because I know Bart Schleisler went missing in the Yukon Territory right near Alaska.
Yeah. So looking at like the Yukon and like Portlock, okay, like what you're talking about, it is kind of all on the same side, like of
Yep.
the area. Like it's not like they're next door, okay? Like this is a massive amount of land. Like we're talking about the difference between like, distance wise, I don't know. The thing I'm like maps distort the globe, right? But it looks
Mm-hmm.
like the distance between possibly like Florida and like Delaware. Pretty far. But up there, considering how big everything is, we're talking like, it's like there's Portlock and then like right over the border, like there's like the border and there's like the Yukon and all this stuff right there. I'm not sure about the Headless Valley. Let me see if I can find that on the map here. It would be really interesting to compare it.
People being shredded. I mean, that's like the Honey
Yeah.
Valley behavior as well.
Right, right. Headless Valley is about twice as far as what I was talking about. I'm looking at it. It's like it's on the far side, past all that. But still, yeah, that's creepy, man. An animal, like even just like regular animals can travel really far, just migrating or seeking new territory on foot. Like the distance. Okay, like that one cougar that went from like the Black
Mm-hmm.
Hills that ended up like way over. Was it in Maine or something? Which Vermont? I don't know. It was
Pennsylvania actually is
Pennsylvania.
where
Okay.
it got hit
Okay.
on the highway, unfortunately.
Ooh,
Yes.
bless its heart. And it kind of swung down through like the northern part of Tennessee, I remember. So distance wise, like, Portlock to the Yukon, this is very back of the envelope. This is not me mathing. This is me talking to you and looking at a map. Okay. Like we're like Portland to the Yukon, like, that's about that far. To the Headless Valley is like maybe about that far again, or maybe not even quite twice as far. Like, right? Like that's doable. That's
Okay.
doable. That's yeah, like for a creature on foot, and who knows, like especially if we're talking about something that's a cryptid, which means, it's probably a little bit stronger than the average bear. People say they're pretty fast, faster than normal things that you see. Who knows? Who knows how these things get
Yeah.
around, especially when you get into supernatural elements, which I can't even speak to.
Well, you hit it right on the knob right there, because I actually was trying to explain that to some people down in Tennessee and Kentucky that were like, hey, there aren't wolves down here. I respond with, yes, technically you are correct, except you do have Michigan and Wisconsin right up there to the north. And wolves travel anywhere from 500 to 600 miles away from their den site to explore. They'll only eat
Right.
around 30 to 40 miles away from the den. Yet 600 miles from Michigan down to Tennessee, there's no reason whatsoever that a
Yeah.
large wolf that is trying to either expand its territory or is a lone wolf ventures through that area and then you find a footprint. I mean, it's not
Right.
far-fetched
Right.
at all.
Right. Unlikely or rare is not the same as impossible. It's not
Yes.
impossible. And I feel like okay, there are enough people out here who have wolf hybrids and blah blah blah. Like if an actual wolf ended up down here, somebody would have to do genetic analysis for anyone to believe that it was an actual wolf. Otherwise, people are gonna be like, that's someone's wolf hybrid that got out or whatever. Or maybe it's a coy dog, like we've got stuff like that. So many people have like the wolf hybrid type because it's cool or whatever. So yeah, like, I'm saying if a wolf did make it down here, you know, it would have to look very wolfish and it would have to show up on a lot of game cameras and it would have to be like people would have to be like, oh, this is definitely like a real wolf. Like people would probably just assume it's just somebody's escaped mostly wolf pet or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So of course we do have red wolves, but they're very very endangered, and so
They're pretty
they were
small
native
compared to
here.
like gray wolves. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't look
Coyote size,
anything like
right?
that. They're bigger. They're distinct from a coyote. They're bigger than a coyote. Like coyotes are kind of smaller than I thought. Um, but they are not like they're compared to like a gray wolf or like something in Canada. Nah, they look shrimpy and they're not nearly as fluffy too, which again makes them look even smaller.
It's funny you had said that too, because that leads me into potentially my next question for you. A lot of people don't realize what we have here in North America for gray wolves. And then you look at an Alaskan or Canadian gray wolf, the difference is absolutely terrifying about how much larger they really are. Is it
Yes.
too far-fetched to think that some of these people might have just been attacked by wolves? Because wolves would dispose of you pretty quickly. And could the
Yeah.
shadows have been, reason I'm saying this is anyone can look this up. Wolves do this. Wolves are infamous for standing up on their hind legs and looking over tall grass down on
Oh, that's
deer
true.
and other type of prey that they're looking upon, and they'll stand there for a
Hmm.
bit. So could this
Mm.
not have been a human-like shadow that you see for a second? A large wolf standing up
Huh.
on its hind legs to potentially look down upon you? Just food for
Wow.
thought.
I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting thought too. It's really weird. I'm pretty sure there's like no or like maybe like one or two like documented cases of wolves actually unaliving somebody in the Americas. Like it actually like basically has never happened in a documented way. I'm not saying it's never happened, but like compared to like old world wolf stuff and new world wolf stuff, there's not a lot of like you don't hear a lot around here about actual wolves doing stuff. Like I said, doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It would be surprising. It would be like a big deal if that's what it was. But you could be like there were definitely. I'm sure there were wolves. I can't say there definitely were, but depending on what decade we're talking about and where things were living, there's definitely wolves up there. So I don't know.
So creepy for sure. Like I try to say is when fear is installed. So I mean, if these people were being shredded, pareidoia is obviously going to come into play.
Yes,
Also, if you're not
you're right.
accustomed with vocalizations that animals make, a wolf could make a lot of noises that you are not going to be accustomed to. It's
Yeah.
definitely interesting because something occurred. People have still not gone back. Oh, it's not really a nice area. It's on a peninsula, basically. The weather's terrible and it's cold all the time. From the understanding I have, some of these indigenous cultures really think by going back and taking this area, they can help boost their community and all kinds of other options. As you and I are talking now, I don't think anyone's gone back there still.
Like I think they might go visit it sometimes, but I don't think anyone's actually resettled it. I think they were looking into it like on that show, but like looking up has it been resettled? Like have they built anything? Like there's nothing. Like it's owned by the neighboring village, right? Like that, but they haven't actually. People haven't started living there again. Like maybe it's still. I don't know if it's on the table or not, but yeah, like there's that old. They had a cannery there, like where they would can stuff, and yeah, that's the ruins of it are still there. It's they'd have to completely rebuild. Like it's not usable at all. Um, it's I don't know. Like I don't know. It's definitely like no one seems to want to live there. Can't say I blame them.
Right? So weird. And also, one interesting thing I did learn is animal behaviorisms. And we only know like 60% of that. Okay. Just because we've gathered something
Mhm,
and think, hey, this is how these animals act, let's pump the brakes. It's only a
mhm.
60% more or less accurate assumption because no one
Mm,
watches these animals at all points in time.
yeah. And animals, when they know they're being observed, like when someone unusual is in their environment watching them, they behave differently. Like I know I behave differently if someone's watching me, even if it's someone like benign. Like, if my neighbor is watching me like back my car up, I get weird about it. And animals are also like they might seem calm, but if somebody is watching them, if their heart rates go up, like they act a little bit differently. They get a little nervous, even if they don't show it. And so, yeah, like it's hard to say for sure with certainty. We know animals don't do this, or we know they definitely always do it like that. We don't know. Like we have some good guesses, but science is always always gathering data. Like we just yeah, there's a lot we still have to learn. Phones will often they focus with infrared. So I mean, I don't know if she can see infrared, but I'm saying like, and there might make little clicking noises in the lenses. I don't know. Who knows what? Yeah, yeah. It's wild. They know
It
like
is
animals can tell
wild.
things. Yep.
So gnarly right there. Well, what else do you think is occurring up here in Port Chatham? Or anything else you think we should add to this conversation? Observations to either support, debunk things that are occurring up here? What are you thinking for some of your final
Mm.
thoughts?
It's one of those things where like it's happened a really long time ago, and yeah, like people passed away because of that, and that's really sad. And like the truth is, like we'll never really know for sure what happened to them. We don't know if it's the same thing that got all of them. It's suspicious that a lot of people got. um, it's the world is full of a lot of mysteries and, even very tragic ones. Like, I don't think we'll ever really know for sure. We can sit here and speculate on, unknown animals or known animals even, or, strange and terrifying people or, aliens, who knows? Like, yeah, but we never really can know for sure. But I think it definitely makes sense to include Portlock in that Alaskan triangle of like strangeness because something went on there. And there are people they're gone because of whatever this was. Um,
Hmm.
whether it was some sort of creepy Bigfoot or Gugway or Dogman or some deranged animal was acting weirdly and tearing people up. I don't know, something really big. I don't know. A grizzly bear? Like, who knows? It wasn't acting, whatever it wasn't normal. It wasn't normal. And it was, I don't know if that was the only reason the town was abandoned, but I'm pretty sure I would have wanted to get the heck out of Dodge if that was going on in my town.
So gnarly. That actually made me think of one more thing before we do let you get back to other things you need to attend to. Could this
Yeah.
not have also been a polar bear? The reason I say this is polar bears have
And they're
zero fear
massive.
of people. They're absolutely
Yep.
massive. There is a video of a submarine coming up through the ice, and this polar bear attacking the top of the submarine, trying to figure out how to open it. Would that
Scary.
be reasonable? I'm pretty sure there would have been polar bears in that area, correct?
Right. I'm looking at the polar bear range now and like like it's a big, big circle, around, oh my goodness, all this. Like, technically, polar bears aren't supposed to go that far south in Alaska. However, I mean, we were just talking about, the range of creatures that are outside of where
Uh huh.
they normally go. Like, they could, like, an errant polar bear could happen. You also have these growler bears, they call it. It's like a hybrid between a grizzly and a polar bear, and they might end
Yep.
up on the margins, and they can be huge. They aren't
And they got
afraid
a
of
bad
people, and
attitude. Yeah.
yes, very like nightmare fuel of a creature, I'm telling you. And it's not great. Like, and I know there's different kinds of animals, they travel differently. Like, these things can swim, they can travel on land. I mean, there was in Tennessee a couple years ago, a little bird that was like from kind of this area, like, think, Alaska, like Arctic Circle, like, it's called an ancient murrelet. And one of them ended up all the way down in Tennessee all by itself, like near the Chickamauga Dam. I went to see it because I'm like, oh my goodness, I'll never see this bird in my life in Tennessee ever again. And it's this weird little Arctic bird showed up all by itself. Like, what? It was thousands of miles away from where it should be. And yeah, it's a bird, it can fly. But
Oops.
like, oops, exactly. Oops. And after a week or so, it disappeared. Hopefully it made its way home. Hopefully it didn't get eaten by something. But these things happen. Creatures end up way outside of where they should. And, especially birds, but other creatures too, like fairly often. Not often as in like every day, but like to an extent where it's not like, oh my goodness, it's like, yeah, it's like, everyone, let's go see this thing. We're never going to see it here again. But it's not like, oh, this would never happen in a million years. Like, no, this
That
probably happens every few decades. Yeah.
super bizarre. I really don't know how much more can be squeezed out of this. I mean, you have
Yeah, I think we're good. Yeah.
the lore that people have talked about, you have this TV show, you have the
Hmm.
indigenous cultures referring to this,
Yep.
yet, like you said, it was quite a long time ago. I don't really know
Yeah.
how else to shed any more light on this.
It will forever be a mystery in some ways, I think, but I think it's worth speculating on. Something strange and unnatural happened, whether it was a normal creature acting unnaturally and strangely, or something beyond what is documented and known acting in a violent way. We may never
Preach.
know.
The last thing I would like to say is, do you think there could also have been some sort of embellishment? The reason I said this is the other night on Camp Nightmare Fuel, we covered the Ramree Island saltwater crocodile attack. Yes, it's been verified it did occur. Yet you have very
Mhm.
smart people thinking the number of actual soldiers that were attacked by crocodiles is much lower than the supposed thousand of them. Okay. Do you think here as well, even though we hear, no pun intended, all these people being attacked and supposedly ripped
Yeah.
apart, could that number maybe have been a lot lower than actually being presented to us, you think?
I mean, unless we have a list of names, I think it's really possible. If people are saying, "Oh yeah, tons," what are the exact numbers? Like, where are the graves of these people? Like,
Mm-hmm.
where's the Ross of the census records? Some of this stuff could possibly be researched and verified, and I would be very hesitant to fully trust some of the shows that go out and do stuff. One came to somewhere vaguely in my region, and they may have been looking for cryptids in caves, and the way it was put together on the show later made it sound like the cave was like, oh no, at least like a few hundred miles away from where the actual cave was. And it was
Of
like,
course.
it was very, yeah, it was very dramatized. It was very put together to sound very like, "Oh, we found this cave. We're gonna see there's something strange here. We're gonna look inside." And meanwhile, like, it's a cave that I've been in, like, 2 or 3 dozen times, and my husband leads trips there, and like, it's actually sealed with like a metal, anyway, I'm just going off on a tangent here, but like, you know I would definitely, as far as TV documentaries go, a huge grain of salt. I would take it with a huge grain of salt. Like, what you're saying, like, they saw something shaking the tree, like, bless them, it's television. I don't trust it.
I just know from when I used to act and model, I just know what goes into things.
Yeah, they can clip people's conversations and what they're saying to make people say almost anything they want, right? Like,
Hmm.
they can cut it and cut it and cut it. Like, you could, yeah, I don't know. Like, so I might say the full sentence, you know, if you didn't know better, you would think that, like, my cat actually ate that dog. And then,
Hmm.
or, and I may be joking or say that there's like no, like, but content, like, they might cut it to, my cat actually ate that dog. Like, it's so
Yep.
silly. Like, they can make you basically say the opposite of what you were trying to say. So yeah, it's big grain of salt with the documentaries on the, especially when it's kind of
Yes.
sensationalized.
Preach. I love it right there. Well, my friend, is there anything else you would like to touch base on tonight before we do allow you to get going?
I don't think so. I think everyone can go to sleep with this lovely, charming tale of history.
Perfect. Love it. Well, thanks for hanging out with us as always. I do
It's,
appreciate you.
it was fun. It was fun. Looking forward to next time, Lord Starfox.
Ooh, my creatures of the night, you legends, you. I do adore every single one of you. And thank you for hanging out tonight. Please like, comment, subscribe, share the truth to the algorithm. And remember, there are monsters lurking in the darkness.